Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Decentralized Voices podcast. My name is Daria, and today I'm joined by Krzysztof Urbański, a blockchain researcher leading governance and partnerships at L2bit. In this episode, we dive into the realities of Ethereum L2 networks, the challenges facing modern DAOs, and predictions for the year ahead. Enjoy this episode and don't forget to like it and share it with your friends. Krzysztof, I'm super happy to have you today. Please introduce yourself and give a short intro to your professional background.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be at your podcast. I've been listening to it in the past, so it's a great thing for me, great honor for me.
Thanks for coming.
So about my background, I've been working in IT for like more than 20 years already. It's been a long time. I in the very back, like old days, I used to be a UX designer and UX analyst. Then I transitioned into being a product person, like product owner proxy, like that's how it used to be called professionally, and business analyst. I've been doing this in the IT software industry, in the software house, working with both like huge corporations. That's how I got to know the financial industry. We're working with the top financial institutions in the world, and on the financial backbone. So that's how I got tilted into
To
crypto.
crypto.
Because I know how inefficient and how bad it is in the traditional world. I was also working with startups and with NGOs, and I was mentoring on some startup accelerators, and that's how I got to crypto. I had all the friends who were very early into Bitcoin and very early into Ethereum. And then I got to know the DAO, the original DAO project. Suddenly I realized that it's actually something more and something better than just payments. And I stayed, even though the DAO collapsed like 3 months after I learned about it. Thing that was convinced already that this is a new technology that is going to change the world. I was involved in a lot of discussions on the regulatory front in different working groups next to the Polish government, different ministries, regulatory bodies, different working groups with financial industry, working on crypto. Like I was a crypto guy in those working groups, and that's how I get to know like founders of L2bit, Bartek, Jacek, Chris Kaczor. And when at some point when they founded L2bit, they realized that they have this need for governance. That suddenly L2bit became delegate in different L2 DAOs, and they wanted someone to handle it. So they brought me in to handle governance at first. That was my sole responsibility in the very beginning. I also spanned over partnerships and relationships we have with different projects, and also like promoting L2bit. Now I'm also like kind of a public facing figure for L2bit.
Thanks for a great overview. And for those who don't know what L2bit is, can you briefly describe the project?
Yes, so L2bit is like what we like to call an on-chain transparency company. We bring transparency to the on-chain systems, specifically focused on Ethereum L2s. So L2s only and Ethereum L2s only, simply because this is even though this is a niche, it's a niche big enough and important enough that it's really hard to tackle it already. So what we are doing, we are analyzing the different L2s to see if they are actually implementing all the security guarantees that L2s are supposed to deliver for you to feel safe when using those L2s. Because the L2-centric vision for Ethereum is great, but it assumes that all the projects that call themselves L2s, they are actually providing their users certain security guarantees that make those L2s feel like you would be using Ethereum itself, that your funds are actually secured by Ethereum, as we sometimes say. And in order for this to be true, this is possible, but there needs to be certain mechanisms implemented on those L2s on the Ethereum side and internally so that you can feel safe. So what we are doing, we are looking into those L2s, both into their source code to see if they actually implemented those mechanisms, and then into the on-chain components, on-chain configuration, the deployed code, to see if those mechanisms are actually working in live production environments. So we just want to make sure that we are here to remind them that yes, like security guarantees are important as well, and like it does matter, and we look into it. We do, we do care.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how we see our job. So our job is not to point fingers and not to simply say that something is not working or someone did something wrong. We are not to blame anybody. We are to push the industry forward, to set the bar higher, and to allow those systems to help them actually improve on the security guarantees so that in the future we won't be facing those awful hacks or awful funds misusage and stuff like that. And we'll be able to just focus on building good stuff.
Yeah, thank you very much for great explanation, and I really like the idea of L2bit. And I remember Hubert. He shared that that some people perceived L2bit like logo and design, like it's a dating application or something, and it was super fun. So basically, it can be like dating in some way, but for L2s and like some
We have this heart in the logo because the beat in Autobits is from heartbeat. We want this to be this beat of the ecosystem. However, people have their own
yeah.
interpretations of what does it mean. If we are to be dating app for L2s, a dating app matching L2s with their users, we are happy to be that.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's good. How do you stay neutral? You have a lot of projects around you, and you're like delegates from different DAOs. So how do you stay neutral between all this L2?
It's a tricky question because I will be very honest, we do not have any secret sauce that makes us neutral and not tempted to be opinionated. We are opinionated. However, what we do is first of all, we try to base on all our assessments based on like some objective criteria, on some grand rules that we said, like what is our expectation, what we are actually looking for. Ethereum, only because we strongly believe that this is the network that is best positioned right now to be the guardrails for the future financial system. It's not that we don't like others. We have a lot of respect and we value a lot all our competition. Simply our honest assessment right now is that Ethereum is best positioned to deliver, to move world into crypto. That's why we're focusing here. And that's the only project that we favor in some way is Ethereum, because simply that's our, like, we are Ethereum
Yeah, it's
ecosystem
in the
stewards.
center. Yeah.
However, in terms of L2s, we are not that opinionated. Like, we love all our children. We want all of them to succeed. We know, we understand how hard how hard job it is to be this extension of Ethereum, to scale Ethereum, to get users, to provide them this unique user experience and allow them to use decentralized systems. We try to not to favor anybody. And that's why we always try to take a step back and figure out, okay, if we are criticizing someone, if we set expectations for someone, why do we do that? Do we have any explanation of why we think that it's a better choice? And we spend a lot of time thinking about it and debating it internally, as you can imagine. Our researchers are creating new models, like sometimes mathematical models that make a justification of why, for example, the security threshold should be this and not that. Why should we aim for that many people in Security Council? Why don't we accept, or like try to not accept people from the same organizations, or we basically combine them as one signer? Where are we coming from actually? Because the way we think about it is that when we speak about decentralization, and I've been speaking a lot about it, especially with institutions recently that do not fully understand why are we so focused on this. And for us, decentralization is not something that we are doing just for the sake of decentralization. It's not just like some magical aspect of the network that we want to achieve to get a gold medal in it. No, we see decentralization as certain security guarantees and certain guardrails and insurance kind of that we provide to users and to ecosystem participants so that they can feel safe using this network. And in our opinion, if we don't provide those certain parameters, then the networks will split. There will be some people that won't be willing to use a network that is owned or controlled by different nation entities,
Yeah.
let's say. So this neutrality and credibility in Ethereum itself is very important. So there is no secret sauce. We just want to make sure that we are talking to everybody,
Yeah.
that we give everybody fair chance of participating in our discussions. That's why we created this partnership fund where we ask L2s to support us and L2 ecosystems to support us. But even with that, we made sure to reach out to everybody and to tell everybody, hey, you are all free to join it on the same rules. Like we try not to discriminate. And also, joining partnership fund does not give you any special privileges. And it also doesn't mean that we will not cover someone who is not part of partnership fund. Actually, you joining partnership fund makes us possible to keep everybody else accountable as well. We try to always take a step back and think if we are being fair towards everybody, we are always open to collect feedback. We know that sometimes we are spicy, sometimes we are very opinionated.
Especially
Bartek, Luca, but also other researchers, Basti, all of us, we are opinionated. We have very strong opinions of what is the correct way of doing things in this space. And sometimes, in order to express this, we have to be very straightforward, and very direct. And, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's hard. I totally get it that sometimes projects don't like it. It rubs them the wrong way. So my job is literally to make sure that we can discuss things together. That even if we disagree, that we can discuss our disagreements and that we can present where are we coming from, why we think something is good or bad, why we want someone to do something that they might not want to do or they weren't planning on doing. So one promise that I can make, one commitment that I can make here is that even if you feel that L2Bit is treating you badly, if you feel bad about some harsh comment that you saw on Twitter, you are always feel free to ping me, to come to me, tell me that you're upset about something that we did. And I will not censor my researchers. I will not tell them what to say or what not to say. But I will try to get us in the same room to discuss the differences and to make sure that we understand each other and we know where are we coming from and what our positions are. That's my job, basically.
Yeah, especially with your experience of UX design, where you should know users and learn their behaviors and everything. Yeah, so probably it's the best.
I spent countless hours in labs watching, having developers watch regular people use their systems. And cursing and and being mad that they can't figure out how those systems are designed and why can't they figure out that they have to click this thing. We can see things from different perspectives, and sometimes our mind model of how things work and how other people think is not necessarily correct one. And the only solution for that, the only way to go forward is to try to align and try to exchange our point of views and see things from different perspectives. And that's what what I'm trying to do.
I want to ask you about Ethereum, especially which features should be built directly into Ethereum and which should be left to external teams, because L2s, it's like external teams working on making it faster, cheaper, and more scalable. So what should remain in the Ethereum?
I don't think that we have any opinion on what should be built inside Ethereum and what should be left outside of Ethereum. However, the way I see it, Ethereum definitely needs to be the settlement layer. We need to have this neutral infrastructure, such as internet. It has to be the internet with this additional value exchange layer, which can be implemented in many different ways. But it needs to be the settlement layer and communication layer, because it needs to be universal. If we achieve that, about everything else I think it's negotiable. It's actually the biggest strength of Ethereum, that we can experiment and we can customize things on the layer two. That the layer two ecosystems have this flexibility and this freedom of trying different things. We don't like it as it's not Ethereum aligned for some reason. But still, even if I don't like it, I like the fact that they are able to do it. I like the fact that they have the freedom to experiment with it. And if we don't like it, but it becomes successful, then we've learned something
That's
with that.
okay. Yeah.
So like as long as we stay together and stay connected, I think that's beneficial for both sides. And however, I still believe that the Ethereum, in order for those systems even to be better, Ethereum should provide the decentralization. Ethereum should provide the security. Ethereum should be the ultimate judge, ultimate settlement layer that is a source of truth, and that we should trust on, and not outsource this responsibility somewhere else. That's why kind of we distinguish right now between rollups and optimums and validiums. It's not that we think that they are worse systems. They are very good. There are some very good projects in this category. However, with validiums and optimiums, there is part of the security that is outsourced to some other system. While with rollups, the security fully relies on Ethereum. And that's the whole difference. Maybe not the whole difference, but like that's from my perspective, the most important difference. So I believe that the security should be on Ethereum, not just because it's good for Ethereum, but it's good for both projects because they can focus on doing other stuff. They can focus on doing business. They can focus on onboarding users, on providing good user experience to those users, on making sure that in discussions with regulators, with business stakeholders, we can focus on what's important and we can focus on like bring them on these rails instead of like trying to adapt to their requirements. And we can change the world instead of simply fitting crypto in the old rules. But this is a lot of work. So those projects don't have as much time to deal with everything. So leave security and leave decentralization to Ethereum. Leave Ethereum as the settlement layer, build on top of it. You can really build almost anything on top of it. We've seen so many different crazy experiments built on top of Ethereum that I really, somebody has to convince me that something is not possible using this model. It could be simply not the most efficient way right now, but still, the future is bright for that. Like everything will be able to be built on top of Ethereum. And so focus on building the right thing and leave Ethereum being the settlement layer so we can all build on top of it.
I can take your words and put on the thumbnail because they sound promising and optimistic. Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing. What metrics should builders pay attention to when they decide about L2 to build on? Can you recommend
I don't think that they should right now look into metrics specifically, especially that in the big picture, those metrics are not as relevant today, in my opinion. Of course, it's easier to build on a big ecosystem than it is to build on the smaller one. But as a builder, in my opinion, what you should be focusing on is what is better for your product. And if the ecosystem that you are choosing will help you build your product, or will it make it harder to build your product? Not every ecosystem is a great fit for everybody. So there are differences between like not all rollups are built the same. And also every rollup, every L2 ecosystem has some kind of their own angle, like they have their own unique value proposition. Like sometimes they have unique features. You've got optimism with Superchain. If you can leverage Superchain for your benefit somehow, that's your place. Nobody else has as many big names as Optimism. Inc, World, Uniswap, Base, of course, all the others like this. If you can leverage this, if you can find a way to build your product in this ecosystem for others to benefit from it and for you to benefit from being in this ecosystem, then that's the place for you. However, if, for example, you want to build in Rust or in another software language, then maybe you should look into Arbitrum with Stylus. Also, if you are building DeFi, then Arbitrum has a lot of great DeFi projects. If you can build something with Camelot, if you can build something with GMX, if you can build something with Ostium, if you can build something with Neurite, there is a lot of crazy and ambitious and very good builders in Arbitrum that know a lot about DeFi. Maybe that will be your ecosystem. Of course, if we are speaking about DeFi, then Ethereum is probably the first choice. But in Ethereum, you're swimming in this huge ocean.
Yeah.
And in this huge ocean, you have to be a really big and strong fish. In Arbitrum, you can find your own niche. It might be easier. And especially in Arbitrum, you can easily get to know all the people that are building there. And if you can leverage this, then you're good to go. Then probably this is the place for you. The same goes for Polygon. Polygon with Katana and Polygon POS as a payment chain. If you can leverage this aspect that they are highlighting, that's your way to go. In ZK is saying, if you can leverage Previdiums, if you can leverage the fact that they build this technology that is, well suited for enterprises, and they are talking to enterprises, they are already in the discussions in this room
Yeah.
with them. If you can leverage this, then probably this is your place. So it's not about metrics. It's about your product. You have to understand what your product is, what your target audience is, what is your go-to-market strategy is, who can help you with achieving your goals. With that in mind, then you can analyze different ecosystems and see what they have to offer. Again, if you have this consideration and you don't know all these ecosystems, feel free to come to us, me, or whoever else in L2B. We can help you. We know them all. And we'll be, I'd be very happy to tell you, like, with your specific needs, where you can find help. And all of these ecosystems provide a lot of help. They are very supportive. They need builders. They want people to build on top of them. So this is a really great time to be a builder, and a great time to experiment, especially to experiment with new things, because I think it will be challenging to build old stuff again. Like, a lot of people are doing this, but experimenting with new stuff, like the 2020 vibe mode, this is going to be, in my opinion, a very much growing branch in the next year.
Yeah, thank you. And I see that some L2 networks have shifted from focusing on independent builders to targeting enterprises, B2B clients, as you mentioned, and especially ZK Sync now is focusing. And other L2s also are interested in attracting more bigger players to their ecosystem. So what do you think? Which business model or which approach is more sustainable and more promising in long term?
So
In long.
yeah, like, in my opinion, it's inevitable. And the reason why everybody is talking about enterprises today is because there was a regulatory sentiment change. So every institution in the world, they realized, okay, like, we need to figure out our crypto strategy, especially after BlackRock and like those big funds like Franklin Templeton, after all of them invested in crypto, after crypto ETFs showed up and were successful. It's no longer a question if crypto will be there 10 years from now. Like, if you are betting against crypto or betting against BlackRock, and historically it was a very risky bet. So in my opinion, there is no question if crypto is there to stay. There is a question of how exactly are they going to use it? I've been here for long, so I've seen it already in around 2017, 2018, after the ICO bubble, so the first really huge mainstream recognition of crypto as this innovative, a source of innovation and source of things that are weird, different, and something that we didn't see before in Web2 and the startup world. Like, after this, like, there was this first wave of enterprise interest in crypto. However, they all been interesting, but they have no idea how to use it. And I see this problem still. Like, in my opinion, this is still the issue. that everybody already, like right now it's less of a question. So everybody knows that they need to adapt some kind of a crypto strategy and has some crypto strategy. And they want to build on crypto. Everybody wants to have a stable coin. Nobody knows why and what for, but everybody wants to have their stable coin. And it's good because everybody should have their stable coin. So, in such a fast moving environment, you don't have a lot of time to think about it and, think if it's not crazy, you just, follow the crowd. So, but it's okay. We've seen this before. We've seen this before in startups. We've seen this before, even back in the 90s, with the internet, for example. So this is normal. And also from the crypto perspective, enterprises are attractive. They already have customers. They are these mature big businesses. If you're an enterprise that can sustain 1,000 employees, or like thousands of employees all over the world, then I don't see at least any easy workaround for this. We simply need to adapt. And also, not every company can work with huge corporate. Corporates are picky, and corporates, they have their own moods, which can be difficult for a crypto company to work with. So, as I said, like to wrap it up, I think it's inevitable. I think that everybody should have the same way as corporates need to have their crypto strategy. Every crypto project should have their enterprise strategy. Also, to say that they don't want to do enterprises, for example, many projects should do this. Yeah, but they need to figure out like how to address it, what they have to offer, and how can they work with them. Because that's a totally separate topic. Like working with enterprises, working with corporates is not as straightforward as working with any other product.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I guess that it should be like a good match between blockchain and corporation to implement and like really understanding of why should we add this blockchain or crypto to our working process or to our product. And you remind me Polygon when they tried to onboard Starbucks, Nike, else I don't remember. Like it was a long list of big brands, but they didn't need it.
In my opinion, Polygon was simply too early. It wasn't that they had a
it was
bad
early.
offering, and they were too early, too fast, probably. But who could have known? I remember these days, like, and it sounded like a perfect plan and perfect, perfect strategy. So, and it is. In my opinion, Starbucks didn't know how to use crypto. Starbucks didn't utilize crypto to to the extent that they could. But probably this will happen one way or another. And we have it already from the past waves. ICO wave, 29% of those projects went nowhere.
Yeah.
But Uniswap, Anva. I remember Anva as being the small project that I learned about on Hackathon at 2019. Aragon, Kleros, all those projects, they are still there. They pivoted. They did something differently. Maker, all those days, like, yes, a lot of projects failed, but some survived, and it will always be like
And
that.
transformed, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially Aave, I see how fast they grow and how fast they move. And it's exciting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you think there is too much infrastructure? How many L2s and other protocols do we need actually to have enough the apps to use by not crypto natives?
I don't think that there is too much infrastructure. Still, I think that there is not enough infrastructure. Like there is, however, there's probably a mismatch between funding and the need. I believe that our industry is very skewed by VC money, and people looking for low hanging fruits and good opportunities to multiply their capital like 1,000 times. And because of that, we have this bad capital allocation, let me put it like that, or inefficient capital allocation. Maybe not bad, but inefficient capital allocation. And this is a struggle because it skews the whole market, it skews the industry. And it's not great in general. However, that doesn't mean that we have too much infrastructure. Anybody who built anything on crypto knows that there isn't that much, really. Even we mentioned Aave. Like, we have one Aave. There is definitely a place for more than one Aave in the world. Big projects like Aave. I'm not saying that Aave doesn't have competitors.
Yeah.
Simply the project as big as Aave is only one. And there is definitely a place for more than one. Same way as we have Tether, we have USDC, we'll have thousands of stable coins in the future. There is a place for more than one Aave. So there is a place for we already have many different dexes. There is Uniswap, but there is also Velodrome and Aerodrome. There are others. There is Curve. There is a competition, healthy competition, in my opinion. And in case of any infrastructure, there should be a competition. There should be alternatives. There is a place for alternatives. In the L2 space, there are two camps. People who say that there should be 3 L2s in general, and that's enough. Nobody needs more than 3 L2s. And there are people who say that there's a space for thousands of L2s. I'm in the second camp. I think that there is space for thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of L2s. However, that doesn't mean that there is a space for 1,000 stacks or 1,000 different technological approaches. However, there is a space for 1,000 teams implementing and deploying this infrastructure and adjusting it for specific customers. We as an industry, we are not ready to scale 2,000 L2s. Simply, there is no capacity on the supply side to support that many deployments. From my perspective, there is a need for more infrastructure. There is a need for more software teams. There is a need for more DevOps, people who actually know how to deploy these things and how to maintain these things. There will be a huge demand, in my opinion, especially after enterprise adoption.
Yeah, we need more infrastructure that actually works instead of protocols who were created for extraction, like money extraction and just gains. So
I don't think that VCs are bad in any way. They are much needed, and we are super lucky for having that many VCs around us. And we are super happy for having that much VC money. Simply, it's an inevitable consequence that there is this mismatch, that there is this misallocation of resources to some extent.
recently, there was a shift in governance as many ecosystems are starting centralizing their governances and they don't know what to do with token voting. And can we consider it like end of democracy and decentralization, or how it works? What can you say about this?
I would say that what you are saying is true. We are observing this shift in governance, also because of the shift of the regulatory requirements in US. However, I'm far from doomerism, and I'm far from saying the DAOs are over or dead. However, I think that it's a healthy check that people like that. In the past, we had a lot of DAOs, but we didn't know why we had so many DAOs and what for, and what those DAOs were supposed to do. We were experimenting by doing, simply trying things out and seeing what the DAOs could be. Centralization that you mentioned, it is happening for some time now. It is not surprising for me. I was saying this from the very beginning when I was involved in governance, that I expect this to happen. Simply, it makes sense for efficiency. However, the attempts that I'm seeing are not great as well, because the biggest missing piece, in my opinion, right now is this lack of understanding of why do we have DAOs in the first place. And also because DAOs were kind of given, nobody had to struggle to get a DAO. Simply people gave out tokens and the DAOs formed. And it was felt that it's easy. You just give tokens and suddenly people show up that want to do something in this ecosystem. Many people took it for granted. However, I've been working with corporates in the past, big corporates, those biggest names with thousands of employees. If any of the community managers in those companies have seen what we had in the DAOs and how how we mistreated the communities here, they would be amazed, because they spend enormous amounts of money and effort and resources to get 1/10 of what we have in the DAO, 1/10 of activity, 1/10 of commitment and and energy and vibes that we have here for free. Just it was laying on the ground. Nobody it's all this natural resources that you have. Once there's plenty of them, you don't care about it and you don't value that. But only when they end, you start realizing how valuable this was and how hard it is to recreate. And I'm afraid that this will be the story of DAOs in crypto as well, because those communities, I strongly believe that communities are valuable. I strongly believe the DAOs, like the community in the DAO, the fact that we have this plurality of opinions, that different range of people and ideas and even competing visions and views, this is valuable and simply, but it's not easy to extract to somewhere. While the DAOs were in control of those ecosystems in theory and sometimes in practice, they weren't actually controlling. So they weren't impactful. Like they were voting, yes. They were debating on the forums and not only on the forums, yes. They had heads, but they didn't have arms and legs. So they couldn't move stuff around and they couldn't move around simply because they didn't have this capacity. So, and there were others in this ecosystem that were actually this. So when you think about, let's say optimism, let's use optimism as an example. And if you think about like who's deciding the future of optimism, it won't be the top delegates, unfortunately. With all my love to my fellow delegates and as being top delegates as well, I will have to be honest that people who actually decide the future of optimism, I would say that it's rather Bayes, it's rather Optimist Foundation Labs, people who are actually on the front and doing stuff. And there was this connection right now, like at least for some time, and we need to bring those people together. We need to figure out ways of how to have synergies instead of competition between those two camps. And we'll figure it out. This is again something that is inevitable because it is valuable. So once someone will figure it out, everybody would like to copy it. It will be hard. Like, we will miss the old days when there were like calls with 100 people on the call discussing DAO stuff.
Yeah.
This is not going back. I don't think that the shift is to centralize. I don't think that the shift is to, although it seems like that, to sunset DAOs. Some DAOs are sunsetting, but in my opinion, this is a mistake. I'm biased, but I believe that this won't be like it's just a part of the sinusoid.
Cycle.
It will go back. It will go back. It will come like the DAOs will come back stronger, better, and people will want to build more of them. We just need time.
You're Polish, but you work in global space. What advantages in Poland and Central Eastern Europe do Web3 teams tend to underestimate? What can potential DevCon next year can bring to Poland?
Something that is hard to overestimate about Central Eastern Europe is the strength of our IT ecosystem. So anybody who's been working IT outside of crypto knows that Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, we are IT outsourcing hubs. Everybody knows about India, but not everybody knows that Poland, like this whole region, has so many very good developers. If you look into OpenAI, you will see that a lot of very important developers and main people behind OpenAI are from Poland, and it's not a coincidence. We have very strong universities, technical universities. Warsaw University is one of the strongest in terms of computer science competitions. There are like other schools in Poland that are also good contenders for this. We have a lot of IT companies that are working for customers abroad. To be honest, for my whole career, I could probably count on fingers of one hand customers in Poland. Actually, I was mostly working with people abroad. Yeah. And that's a very common story. Basically, Polish economy was not strong enough like 20 years ago to build such a strong IT industry. So the whole Polish IT industry was built on outsourcing. We know how to do it. We have people who know how to work in that regime. We know how to work with corporates. We know how to work with startups. We know how to work with AI. We know how to scale cloud. We know how to optimize stuff. We know how to work with old technology. We know how to work with the cutting edge technology. So there is this diversity and flexibility. You can find people, like maybe not easily because it's I've been doing this. It's a struggle, but you can find a lot of good specialists and experts, in this region. At the same time, we are in between Asia and US. So Poland developed a lot in the recent years. So right now, I would say, I travel a lot. I spend more time in hotels than at home usually. So I do observe like how things look like abroad, and I would have to say that Poland and Warsaw specifically is a very good place to live, and easy to manage. So it's easy to set up your own branch here. Yeah, I would encourage everybody to come and try it. However, I think that even though we have this like very fertile ground and theoretically crypto should flourish here, it doesn't really. One of the main reasons is because like we have so many alternatives. So convincing any good developer in Poland to go work in crypto is not easy because they have so many other alternatives, other choices, and they can have very safe and reliable career in traditional software doing Java or Microsoft.net and working for next 20 years at corporate systems. Corporates are employing those developers in Poland in hundreds. Like literally, they are not hiring one or two or three developers. They won't hire 130, let's say, and it's possible. I think there needs to be some work done here locally, also by crypto projects to attract those builders, but those that will be able to do it, those that will be able to attract those builders here locally and build local communities, they will have an unfair advantage in the future.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree with you. Yeah.
That's why Ethereum has to do it. I know that Solana is already investing here.
Yeah, they invest, and I don't see that Ethereum invest in here. And I have some insights from projects who wanted to come and be here and be present, but then they decided that it's not so attractive and not so fancy to be in Poland, in Central Eastern Europe. So that's why they don't want to spend too much resources, unfortunately, compared to
This will
Solana.
change.
Yes.
I hope that it will be filled by Ethereum. That's why I'm working hard on making sure that we have this connection and that we have this understanding from both sides. There is an opportunity here.
I hope that next DevCon or DevConnect will be here. I'm Ukrainian. I'm super interested in development all this region. We can't manage DevCon to come to Ukraine in nearest time, but I see this as a huge opportunity to boost all region, Polish, Romanian, Ukrainian, Bulgarian ecosystem and builders to come and build on Ethereum.
I'm supportive of DevCon in Warsaw 100%. However, I don't think that this is even needed right now. I would advise every big project to have an offsite in Poland, to bring their developers for like 2 weeks, like do an offsite here, bring everybody for a week or two, meet local communities, like meet local people, get to know the environment. It's close to Berlin, so it's easy to travel. Simply get familiar with this environment. If we bring enough projects to simply come here and stay here for a while, they will stay forever.
Make a wish for the Ethereum ecosystem in 2026 for the next year.
I really would like to see a new wave of innovation on Ethereum. Something that we saw during ICO, something that we saw later during DeFi summer, something that we saw during the NFT explosion. I want, maybe it will be AI, maybe it will be something else. I hope that it will be mainstream adoption. I want to see a new wave of experimentation in Ethereum. Things that will be built, like let all those big mature projects attract enterprises and like let them work on enterprises. On the other hand, we have a work to do to show things that are unavailable in traditional rails, to show the true power of crypto, to show things like, like Superfluid that streams money, or Sablier that streams money, like things that are basically not possible on traditional rails. We need to have, like, I would love to see a Cambrian explosion of new projects, small projects, bigger projects being built that are pushing the boundaries, crossing the chasm, like neglecting things that we took for granted for years of how things are being done, how things are being solved. If we have this next year, then it will be a perfect match. It will be a perfect storm of crypto appetite in enterprises and us providing this unleashed, storm of creativity, innovation. Some would not like it because there will be another, of course, a bull run wouldn't be something that I would be sad about. But there will be a lot of people losing money again. But at least like we will have this innovation, and we need it. And if we don't innovate, then we'll starve to death. So we create this innovation. That's my make-a-wish for next year.
I hope Ethereum ecosystem and the whole crypto ecosystem will see this something next year, and it will move everyone towards the brighter future.
Let's hope for it.
Yeah, thank you, Krzysztof, for your experience, for sharing your knowledge, insights, and everything around Ethereum and L2s. So, guys, I'll leave all the links under this episode so you can follow Krzysztof and follow L2Bit and know more about the Ethereum ecosystem, community, and projects built in it. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, and for any of our listeners, if you like to reach out to me, don't hesitate. My DMs are open. If I can help you with anything, feel free to just ping me.
Yeah, thank you very much. And guys, see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.